What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Tunnel Vision, and we are back for another one. Yo, it's that boy about that life. Terrence Crawford. That's what we talking about today. We're talking about Terrence Crawford taking on Sean Porter. I've seen a couple of videos, about how if Terrence Crawford was sent the contract, he would take the fight against Sean Porter. So I was like, interesting, what he said. I was like, that's, it's kind of interesting. So I kind of went back to see what exactly Bomac had said when it pertained to those two fighting. And from what I heard, it was kind of like saying a bunch of nothing to me personally. When he was asked, because he's been asked, about this before, and before he said that, they wouldn't do that fight. That the only person they wanted was Earl Spence. He turned down the fight, and Bob Arum also turned down the fight, saying that he's not paying for Danny, he's not paying for Sean Porter, he's not paying for any of these guys. The only person he's going to do any kind of agreement with is with Earl Spence, and that's it. So, I heard what Bomac said, and what Bomac actually said was that if they came to an agreement, then they would fight. So it's not a situation where if Sean Porter's team or PBC sent them a contract that, they would just sign it to go fight on Fox or to go fight on PBC, a PBC event, let's say like Showtime. It's not anything like that. And as far as, a contract quote being sent, what he actually said was, like I said before, if they come to an agreement, which basically means, hey, if Bob Arum and them can talk and get it set up, then yeah, of course, we're down. We'll go ahead and do it. The problem with that is that, well, Bob Arum's not trying to set up that fight. Bob Arum's not trying to put up the money. So what are you really saying when you say that? You're not really saying anything whatsoever. You're not saying shit when it comes to it, So, I mean, it's much ado about nothing, to me personally. It's not something that I personally believe that they're going to pursue. Because if they really wanted it, it'd be a situation where Bomac would have been like, nah, I talked to Bob Arum. I said, we want that fight and we want that negotiated. We want that set. I talked to Bob Arum. I said, hey, there's no way. How can you say that there's no money in that fight when he just did a pay-per-view with Errol Spence and he did 350,000 plus pay-per-views? You know what I'm saying? So how can you say that it's not, so we know it's a big fight and he lost absolutely nothing out of that fight. Some people actually think he won that fight. He lost nothing from that fight. He actually gained respect from that fight. Where a fight if he fought against Earl Spence again, that fight is doing probably 400,000 plus pay-per-views if they do that fight again. So if they're going to be able to do those type of numbers, then we should be able to do high numbers as well. So, and then push it and be like, yo, we pushing for that fight. We pushing to do that fight next. We're talking to Bob Arum. We're telling Bob Arum that, yo, we want that fight next. Because that's how they talk about when it comes to Earl Spence. Like, we pushing for that fight. We want that fight. This. We talk to Bob all the time. That's how they're talking about that. But for them to just sit there and say, hey, oh, yeah, we get a contract, what's it go sent to us? Yeah, we'll sign it. You're not really saying anything. I mean, it's much ado about nothing. To me personally, that's what I think. But I think that's unfortunate. I think it's a situation where Terrence Crawford needs to be pushing for big fights. His team needs to be pushing for big fights. They need to be pushing for Bob Arum to push that needle. Because right now they're regressing when it comes to popularity. While you're fighting this lower tier fighters and you continue to regress, Earl Spence continues to prosper. He continues to, to push forward. The car accident was a minor setback. And I don't know. I don't know if it looks like he might still be trying to fight Danny. The situation where Danny's trying to, get a fight still in January, but Earl Spence seems he might want to, believe, fight Danny next. Why? I don't know. I would go for my IBF mandatory first and then go into heavier competition after that accident. But, I mean, if he heals up in the next couple of weeks completely, I think it's a situation where he might just do it. He might look for maybe not January, maybe March or something like that. Push it back like 2 months and still go in for that fight. Or he might say, F it, I'm going to be ready by January 28th. If he does that, that would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. But that's a possibility. So that means that's another big, huge pay-per-view, especially after this car accident. Man, he fights Danny. That thing is gonna be because it's gonna be extremely intriguing due to the fact that he did go through something like that. So we don't know what we're gonna get in that ring. We don't know what he's gonna be able to do. We don't know what's gonna happen during training camp. We don't know where his brain, his mind is gonna be after going through something like that. So that fight is doing, and Danny, the crowd that he brings in, the popularity that he has, that's a 400,000 plus pay per view. you know. And ironically, in paying Danny the money that Bob Arum and Top Rank wouldn't pay him. Bob Arum they just seem to not want to invest in their fighters. Well, when it comes to certain fighters, they don't want to put that investment in, and especially when it comes to Terrence Crawford, for whatever reason. They put, they didn't even when it came to Manny Pacquiao, they wouldn't pay the 20 million that Manny Pacquiao wanted. PBC paid, what's it called, Manny Pacquiao's 20 million to face Adrian Broner. They paid him the 20 million guaranteed to face Keith Thurman. He had, guarantees of 20 million for both of those fights. The money that take a Danny Garcia to fight you, they offered him a 3 million flat fee. That's money he made off Granados. When it comes to the gate, concessions, TV rights, all that other stuff, merchandise sold, he made that 3 million fighting against Granados, and they want to fight that against Terrence Crawford. He fights against Earl Spence. He's gonna make, at the end of the day, he's gonna make 10 million, $7 to $10 million, easy, and I mean easy. So, Terrence Crawford needs to do something, because as Earl Spence keeps making his moves, he's gonna keep progressing. And the cut that Terrence Crawford would get off a fight with him is going to keep dropping. You had 50-50 before. Now you're looking at like 60-40. And that's being generous, 60-40. By the time this is all done, man, it's going to be a 70-30 fight. Especially with all the options that, Earl Spence has, not only at 147 pounds, but also at 154 pounds. At the end of the day, this might be a situation where they're like, yo, you want to fight? We'll fight, but we're fighting on Fox. We're not doing a dual deal. You're going to have to come over here. We'll pay you a career payday. We're going to guarantee you $10 million, but you're coming over here. It's going to end up being probably a situation like that, where he has all the power if he continues to win and be successful. But as far as what was said about Sean Porter fighting Terrence Crawford, nah, I don't believe they're going to put any kind of any kind of effort into actually making that fight. And I expect Terrence Crawford to face somebody else in the top rank stable next, or someone that we honestly could care less about. Unfortunate, because you're talking about the pound for pound, the best fighter in the world, and all we do is see him fight scrubs. And they're making no real initiative to take on top tier competition, put the money up. They're not willing to put their money up in order to face the level of competition that they need to face. But hey, everybody, some people choose to do that. Some people like Floyd Mayweather, Mikey Garcia, Oscar De La Hoya, they chose to leave Top Rank and go make some real money and really make a huge dent, in the sports game. But hey, someone like Tim Bradley like to, just sit around and not be anything close to what they are capable of possibly being in the future. Sad, but hey, everybody got their own choices to make in life. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.